Welcome back, class. And last time we started this chapter, the first chapter of our course, which is about the basics of the digital electronics fundamentals. So we have seen the difference between the analog and digital quantities. So we have seen that digital systems are based on the discrete analog systems, like we are taking the samples for the specific intervals of the times, and then we can convert to the digital systems. So we have seen this example application, and we have learned that in the digital system we have the binary digits of the logic levels. So we have two levels. So we could have high and low levels, 1 and 0. So this is like the binary 1, like the first bit, and this is binary 0 or our second bit. So 1 is called as the bit, and the 0 is also called as bit. And we have seen some characteristics of the digital waveforms. So like the ideal waveform looks like just like straight edges, okay, like this 1 0, again we have 1 here, again we have 0 here. But the real time waveform, we will have the rising time, okay, we will have the pulse width, and like here we could also have the ringing and overshooting, and we will have the fall time. So we have seen these characteristics last time. Very important thing which we have discussed last time is the periodic pulse waveform. Okay, like if we are having a pulse, okay, which is actually repeating, okay, after a time period tau. So the one cycle period, so which actually cover one cycle means 1 and 0. It's making one cycle. So this period, time period, and the reverse of that is called frequency. We have seen some examples, okay, last time, that how we can actually calculate the frequency and the time period of the pulse waveform. Then we have seen the other important definitions of the pulse, which actually include the amplitude, okay, the height of the pulse, then the pulse width, and the period of the time. And then we have seen that the duty ratio, okay, so the duty cycle of the pulse can be calculated by taking the ratio of the pulse width and the time period. And then we solved a couple of examples for the further understanding of this concept, duty cycle. So next we started this topic of the timing diagrams. Okay. So as we discussed last time, we use the timing diagrams for the display of the outputs of the digital systems. So it actually reflects the relationship between the different digital waveforms. Okay. For example, we have a one clock signal. So our system is actually operating on this clock system, and we have another input or output of system, which we are actually reflecting as A, B, and C. So like for example, for the first clock period, okay, this A is have high value, and then it has low value. For the B, for the first clock period, it has low value, and then for the next two clock periods. So this is one clock period, okay, then we have second, third. So for the next two clock periods, it has 1, and then again for 0. The third one, we can see that for the first three clock periods, okay, this one period is called, this one duration is called period. For the third clock period, it has 0, and then it has 1 and 0. So like we can see the different relationships, okay, between the input and output at per the clock of the system. So every system is actually working on one clock. So we usually use a logic analyzer in real time to see such kind of the waveforms in the lab for the analysis of our system. And these waveforms are actually referred as the timing diagrams. So this is a typical picture of the logic analyzer, which is used in the labs for the analysis of the digital waveforms of the system. When we talk about the transmission of the data, so data can be transmitted in two main forms. So we could have the series transfer or the parallel transfer. So the series transfer is, for example, a very good example is the communication between a computer and the modem. So modem is actually connecting you with the internet. The computer communicate with the modem using the serial transfer. So serial transfer means, for example, for the first time period, so between T0 and T1, okay, so it is transmitting binary bit 1. Then for the next uh, time, it is transmitting 0, okay, and then for the next period, it is transmitting again 1 and again 1, okay. So like it's coming like first it is transmitting 1, this one, then it is transmitting 0, then it is transmitting this one, then again 1, then again 0, again 0, again this one, and again 0. Okay, so it's a series. First only this one will go, then this one will go, then this one will go. Okay, so such kind of transmission of the data is called series. Okay, one by one. So the other one is the parallel. So in the parallel, what is actually happening? That you are transmitting your all data at once, okay, in parallel. Okay, so for example, computer is communicating with printer. Okay, so always computer communicates with printer in parallel form. So this is the parallel transmission example. So here it takes, for example, the time between T0 to T7, okay, for the transmission of the data. Okay, but here in parallel, you are transmitting in parallel. Okay, like 4 or 5 students in the class start speaking at the same time. Okay, so they are transmitting the information at the same time. Okay, so within one time period T1, you will be transmitting the whole data to the printer. Okay, so the parallel data we can transmit. The advantages are like you can transmit the data in a very short time, and the data will be communicated to your second or receiver. Okay, so here the receiver is printer, the transmitter is computer. So in the next cycle, so it can send the next data back. Okay, and in the next cycle, it can send the another data back. So we can transmit more data in a shorter time. Okay? That is the advantage of the parallel transmission. So every digital system, okay, is actually based on the logic designs. Okay, so there are basic logic functions. So whatever operation you want to perform, for example, counting function and the coding functions, okay, uh, decoding function, the shift register functions like we talked about earlier on. Okay, you want to perform the addition, subtractions, whatever you want to perform in the digital circuit. So everything is actually based on the basic logic functions. Okay, and there are 3 basic logic functions: and, or, and not. So and function is it will be true only if all conditions are true. Okay, so usually we represent the AND gate. So this is actually called as gate. AND gate we usually represent using this picture. Okay, and the output true only. True only means the output will be true if and only if all input conditions are true. Okay, what does this mean? For example, let's consider a basic example. So this is my basic AND gate. I have 2 inputs A, B, and I have one output O. Okay. Now what does this condition mean? This condition means that let me draw here. So this is my input A and B. This is my output O. Okay. This statement means if all conditions are true. So for example, A and B. Okay. If both are true, true means both are 1 1. If both are 1 1, then our output will be true. Okay. So it will be 1. Okay, if for example 1 is true but B is not, okay, so B is 0, then output will be 0. If A is 0 and B is 1, again our output will be 0. Why? We will get only true condition. The output condition will be true if both are true, and if both are 0, then output will be 0. Okay, this is the meaning of this statement. Okay, true only, the AND gate output will be true only if all conditions, the input condition are true. Okay, so if you are getting 1 1, okay, then the output will be 1, the true in case of the AND gate. So this table is actually called truth table. So we will see more details in the chapter 3 of this book, so that how we can actually make this truth table and the other things. So the second form of the logic function, the second form of the gate is the OR gate. Okay, so the OR gate shapes looks like this one. Okay, so OR gate, what is the condition for this? It will be true only. True means you will get the 1 as an output if one or more input conditions are true. Okay, if one or more input conditions are true. Okay, so let's consider the same example. Okay, so now what will happen? So like if you consider a simple OR gate with two inputs and one output, A, B, and output. Okay, so let's try to make the truth table of this one. So we have A, B, and output. Okay, so like we are having 2 bits. Okay, so what will be the possible combinations? Okay, we could have like 1 1, we could have 1 0, we could have 0 1, and we could have 0 0. So these are the possible input combinations like we have seen here. Okay, now talking about the output. Okay, so this is important, so pay attention here. So what is the condition for the OR gate? True only. Okay, so you will get the true output or the one output at the output if one or more input conditions are true. So if either you are having at least one condition, okay, one condition at the output at true. So like 1 1, you will get output 1. 1 0, okay, so at least one is true, so you will get 1. 0 1, at least one is true, so you will get output 1. 0 0, so both are not true, so in this case you will get the 0 as our output. So the difference between AND and OR gate is, in AND gate you are getting true condition or the one when both are true, both inputs are true. Like if you are dealing with the multiple input system, when all inputs are true, then you will get the 1. Otherwise, for all other cases, your output will be 0. For the OR, so AND usually we use like sometimes referred as the multiplication, or usually referred as the addition. So in the addition case, your output will be true, or you will get 1 when at least one of the input condition are true, or at least you are having one of the input condition, like you are having your pulse is having bit 1, then your output will be 1, otherwise you will get 0. The third form of the logic gate is the NOT gate, and the NOT gate operation looks like this one. So NOT is just the opposite. Okay, so the symbolic representation is like this one, that you have an shape like this and then just a bubble at the output. So this bubble could be at the output side and this bubble could be at the input side. So this is a NOT operation, or we also called as inverse operation, inverter. Okay, so what does this inverter mean? So in this case, okay, for example, you are having input A and the output B. So A output. So if you are having input 1, so the output will be inverted, opposite. So your output will be 0 here. So if you are having, for example, input 0, okay, so your output will be 1, opposite. Okay, so opposite of the input is the inverter operation, and we implement this inverter operation using the NOT gate. So we have AND gate, okay, which is kind of multiplication, and true only when both all input conditions are true. Okay, so you will get output true, otherwise all other cases, okay, 0. OR gate, okay, so if at least one of the input is true, okay, your output will be true, otherwise 0. And the NOT gate is just the inverter operation, okay, inverse of the input, whatever input. If you are getting input 1, output will be 0. If you are getting input 0, output will be 1. We will see more details in the chapter 3 of this book. So we use basically these basic combinations and, or, and not for the implementation of the different functionalities, for the implementation of the different digital systems. For example, you want to implement a comparison function, okay, like you have two binary numbers A and B as input, and you just want to compare that whether A is like greater than B, whether A is equal to B, or whether A is less than B, okay. So if you just want to like implement a comparator, okay, we can implement the comparator using this basic logic function. How? We will see that thing later on. You want to perform the operation, arithmetic operations. For example, you want to implement like you have two inputs A and B, and you want to implement the addition, the adder. You want to add A plus B. Okay. For example, A is 1 and B is also 1, and you want to implement this, and how you can actually implement this using the different logical functions. Okay. So we can implement we can perform a lot kind of application. We can develop different kind of applications. We can implement different kind of functions using the logic gates. We will see the details of the basics one in the coming chapter. So this chapter is just basically our view of the different applications. We can implement the encoding system. Encoding system means, for example, you got a keyboard and you are pressing the letter 9, okay, on your keyboard. So this key in 9 will be actually going to an encoding system. So as I told last time, the computer is actually working on the machine language 1010. So when you are typing 9 on your keyboard, okay, so basically to the processor of your computer or your Android mobile phone, okay, so the processor, some encoding information will be passed, that what is the actual definition of 9, what is the actual definition of 9 in terms of the 1010, okay. So to pass that information, we have to convert this decimal to the binary system. So 1010 is our binary system, okay. So we have to implement an encoder which can convert the decimal to the binary systems. We can implement the encoder again using these logical functions. We can implement the decoding function, okay. For example, usually for the 7-segment display, okay. So now you are implementing binary inputs, okay. For example, you are inputting 10101010, okay. So this 10110 may be corresponding to a specific condition, okay, of the 7-segment display, okay. So to convert this binary to the decimal form, we need a decoder which is decoding the binary information to the decimal form, okay. So we implement this thing also using the logical functions. And if you want to implement the multiplexer and demultiplexer, what are the multiplexer? Multiplexer is, for example, you want to transmit the data, okay, and for example, your data streams are A, B, and C, okay. So, and this is your channel. Channel means the medium which you are using for the transmission of your data, okay. For example, you are communicating with the printer, so you can use a USB cable which is connecting your computer with the printer. So that cable is actually channel, okay. So for example, if we want to transmit 3 kind of data streams to the channel, okay. So what are the options, okay. So like we can transmit all data, okay. We can add the data stream 1 or A, data stream B and C, okay, and we transmit them at once, okay. So for example, we define this is called time domain multiplexing. This technique is called time division multiplexing. Time domain multiplexing is what? For example, for the first time period delta t1, you are just transmitting this stream. Then for the next time, you are transmitting this one. Then for the next time period, you are transmitting this one. So basically 3 different kinds of data streams, okay, are multiplexed, are gathered together, okay, at the different time periods, and they are being transmitted to the your receiver, Okay, and then again we have the uh, first the time period for the first data stream. Okay, so this is our A. So this was our data stream A, B, and C. Then again we have A, B, and C. So we are transmitting like this in the channel. So at the input side you have a multiplexer. At the output side you will have a demultiplexer. Okay. So at the output side now you will be separating the data. Okay. So how we will be separating? We will be separating based on the time information. That for example for the first nanosecond, okay, all data is for the the is coming from the channel A. For the second nanosecond, all data is coming from the channel B, which we are just referring as E. And for the third nanosecond, all data belongs to the channel C. Okay, so we can separate the data based on the timing information. This is called time-driven multiplexing. Again, the implementation of the multiplexer and demultiplexer we can implement using the logical gates. Another very important example for the implementation is the counting function. So counting function is like, for example, you are using a stopwatch. So you just start the stopwatch and your stopwatch start counting like 1, 2, 3. So okay, for every second. So basically this counting, this addition 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, 3 to 4 is actually happening at the edges of the input pulses. Okay, for example, in the first cycle, okay, it is counting as 1. In the second cycle, it is counting as 2. For the third cycle, it will be count as 4. For the fourth cycle, it will count as 3, 4, and so on. Okay, so this is called counting function. Okay, so for example, when we are having the first clock cycle, okay, you will get the binary code for the decimal 1, then for 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so how we can implement this counter function? Okay, so we have to use the different kind of gates for the implementation of these counters. Okay, so this is another counting function is another example of the implementation of the logical gates. We can also implement the registers, shift registers. So shift registers are usually used for the storage of the data. Okay, for example, you have a 4-bit system. So this is 4-bit system. Why? Like 1. So you have bit 0, bit 0, bit 0. So there are total 4 bits. It's called 4-bit system. So initially there is no stored data in these registers. Okay, and you want to store this input data. Okay, so this is input data and you want to store this data. This data could be like your message, your music, or anything, and you want to store on your USB, on your CD disk. Okay, so the data will be stored in the shift registers. So now we are having the input clock signal. So every system operates on the clock signal. So now for the first clock signal, for the first cycle, okay, so the first bit, okay, it will be stored. Okay, in the second cycle, okay, so the next cycle, okay, this one, now the second bit, okay, so this is the second bit, okay, this will be stored, and this one, it will be shifted towards the next location. Okay, it will be seriously shifted, okay, into the register. Okay, and we will get the next bit here, and then again in the next cycle, okay, this period, okay, now in the next cycle, okay, so we get these 2 bits. These 2 bits will be shifted towards the left, and we will have our next bit here, and then again these 3 bits will be shifted towards left, and we have our remaining bit here. Okay, so initially we have 0, 0, 0, then we have actually our actual stored data in the shift register. So basically we have to perform the shifting operations. So how we will learn that how we can actually implement this shifting operation. So basically data is stored in the registers, in the memories, using the shift register, and shift register operates on the clock information. So everything finally is implemented in the form of the integrated circuit, or we call them ICs. Okay, so you have seen such kind of ICs maybe in the labs. Okay, So basically, in the this is called dual inline package. Okay, we have a plastic case, and inside of this, okay, we have a chip. These are like the different pins. So basically, these chips here, you are actually implementing different. You are using different logic gates. Okay, and these logic gates basically used to perform the different kind of operation. For example, you have a counter chip. There is one chip, okay, which is used for the counting operation. Okay, so you have implemented the actual logic design of the counter here. Okay, so there could be a chip for the shift register. Okay, there could be a chip for the arithmetic operation. Okay, so all the logics of the arithmetic operation will be actually implemented in terms of the gates here. So there are different kinds of the chips which are used in the digital circuits. Okay, so this is a real-time implementation. So like you can see here, okay, we have the different dual in package chips. Okay, here, like you can see, okay, you have different registers and the inputs at the same, and you can test this system for the different applications. So dual inline package, this is one kind of integrated circuit chips, ICs. So we could also have smart outline ICs. Okay. So usually in the labs, okay, for the testing purpose and for the other application, for the simplest form of the application, we use dual inline package. But for the we talk about the processor, we talk about the motherboard of your computer, your Android mobile phone, and the sophisticated devices. We use the small outline ICs. So small, the difference is between the package size and the pins. Okay, so we can easily install these chips in the sophisticated small size motherboards. These are also other kinds of the IC chips. So you implemented logic design, you designed the logic design, and then you fabricated your ICs for the implemented logic design. Then you have to test the logic design. For the testing, we use different kinds of the instruments. So the first one is like the oscilloscopes. So you guys have used these oscilloscopes in the labs earlier on. Okay, so the oscilloscope, you just have to use like the different channels. You connect to the your test board and you can get the results here. Okay, for example, this waveform here. So usually oscilloscope is used for the analog system, but we can also use for the digital system. So when we use for the digital system, we actually have to use the DC coupling because we are just dealing with the 1-0 levels. Okay, so we select the DC coupling setting inside the oscilloscope, and then we can use the digital system. But for the analog system, usually we use the AC coupling. So basically inside of the oscilloscope we have these sightings, and based on these sightings we can actually select the signal coupling, that whether you want to go for the AC coupling or the DC coupling. And then finally, like after pre-processing of all the data, finally you get the display result here, that what kind of waveform you are observing, or like you are just getting a sine wave or cosine wave. So we can use the oscilloscope. The other one, like we have seen earlier on, okay, it's called logic analyzer. That is also an instrument which is used for the monitoring of the data. We could also use, so this is the logic analyzer which I told you earlier, and then we can also use the digital multimeters, DMM. So definitely you guys have seen this in the labs. So we can also use digital multimeters for the monitoring of the the voltage. Okay, you want to monitor the voltage between 2 points, resistance, current. Okay, so you can quickly. So voltage, the multimeter just gives you like the numerical output results. It did not provide you the waveform, the timing diagrams. Okay, the timing diagrams we can obtain using the logic analyzer, or we can also see the oscilloscopes. But more sophisticated timing diagrams are obtained from the logic analyzer. Okay, so digital multimeter is used just for the just checking the power supply, voltage, resistance. Okay, and the some the digital multimeters could be used for the diode characteristics and the capacitance calculations. Okay, so this kind of information can be obtained from these instruments. So we can implement the logic design. So there could be the fixed a logic design. Okay, like for example, you have implemented the counting logic. Okay, you have got one IC, and this IC can be used just for the counter application only. Okay, so there is another type of the logic which is called programmable logic. So we call them programmable logic devices, or PLDs. Okay, okay. So like I'm saying, we have one example like the counter. Okay, so you have implemented one IC of the counter. So this IC can be used only for the counting applications. So there could be another IC which is called PLD, programmable logic. So in this programmable logic device, you can program, okay, whatever function you want to perform. Okay, for example, you can program this IC to perform the counting operation. You can program this IC to perform the arithmetic adding function. You can program this one to perform the like subtraction. You can program to perform the the shift register. Okay, so these kind of logics designs are actually called as programmable logics. So what are the advantages? Okay, so you can within one IC you can use the different kind of applications, operations. Okay, you can program them, so the overall cost will be lower. So you have to use a separate IC for counting, you have to use a separate IC for adding, subtraction, shifting. Okay, so instead of using a separate ICs, let's use only one IC. Let's program. So how we can program? We use the programming languages, okay, to program the ICs. Okay, so there are like different kind of like programming languages. Okay, the abstract level, we have the Verilog, okay, for the digital systems. Okay, and so this is one kind of the programming language example. So we could use for the programming of our ICs. Okay, and such devices will be called as the programming logical devices. So that is the end of this chapter. Thank you very much for your attention, and we will review this and we will see the more examples in the live session. Thank you very much.